Hey, what's up, my friends? John Hiley here with Tactical Dent Tech. I'm going to show you guys a tutorial here, full tutorial of my student Travis, who done a large front fender dent on this SUV. And we're going to get right into it. You can just see how big this dent is and how the wheel well is bowed out and it's smashed in all the way down there at that bottom edge. So we actually pulled the wheel well down because we're going to be going up through there. But we're going to start off with a little bit of crown work. And this crown was so tight that when you tapped it, you could actually feel the dent moving. So there was a little bit of pressure there that we needed to allow to flow back into where it came from without doing any kind of tension holding just quite yet. And now you can see Travis is switching to that old Craftsman hammer. Craftsman hammers were good. They have that rubber end on right there on that one side, and he's just kind of getting his head back a little bit further. And, to be honest with you, this wasn't back in the days where you took off a lot of doors and mirrors, things like that. So we literally just worked around everything, which is good because Travis needed to learn how to maneuver like that. But now you can see here that I'm actually going to put a tension pull on it. We've done a little bit of knockdown just to take the tension out of it. And you can see here that Travis is going to tap on it while I hold it. This is the way we used to do it back then. A lot of you guys see the belt buckles or the buckles and the rope ratchets and all that stuff. Well, back in the day, in fact, we used to hold it with one hand and then tap it with the other. But since there's two of us here, obviously, I am holding it, and he is just kind of working around, just working that tension down. And what that's doing is that glue tab that I'm holding right there is pulling the metal to where it needs to be. And you'll see here in just a moment, we're actually going to see a little bit of action here. And that's me just slipping off. They actually had you could put a rubber band around the end to kind of keep you on there, but it's fine. There it went. You guys see that? You guys see that? A couple little taps on that edge, and it caused all that metal to swell and move. Now, we do have a crease down there at the very bottom of the fender, but I'm still holding tension a little bit because now Travis is going to be tapping that crown, and we're going to go ahead and pull it off. And you can see a massive amount of that dent moved out. Now you can see some little lows, a little low on the edge. If you go back to the beginning, that low right there on that bottom edge emerged, and the one right there on the door jamb edge was there before we even started doing any of the repair methods. So it was one of the deep little impact points that what we find out later is just stuck in there because the edge is bent down really hard at the very back side of that damage. So now Travis is actually going into this with a sharper knockdown and kind of pinpointing a lot of tiny little highs right there, because the soft tip and the hammer is just too wide. So we got to get in there and get some pinpoint precision to get right on top of them crowns, just laying them down. Now, there's no need to hold any tension now. It's at the point where we're going to be tapping down the highs and pushing up the lows. But now Travis is going to go in there, and we're just going to try pulling up some of the lows around the damage with some of these Black Plague crease tabs. Again, guys, this is 10 years ago. So, nowadays, I'll tell you what I would do a little bit different. That's the Keko mini lifter, by the way. But nowadays, I probably would just went ahead and pulled off the door right off the bat. Just got the door out of the way. But this is the way we done things back then. It wasn't, I guess, the paintless dent removal culture didn't get to the point where we were taking off a ton of doors at that time. So now, it only takes you about 10 minutes. It makes a lot of sense now. But you can see here that Travis is glue pulling there. And this turned out to be a very stubborn spot, by the way. It's one of them things where it was the gift that kept giving. Although we got a real nice high spot in there, you can see that there is a little low that still goes into the back edge of that panel. And you can see a little bit of his tap marks that he left there from doing some knockdown work early on. So that high spot that you've seen there that the glue tab pulled earlier, on this last pull, he's actually taking that down with a soft tip. So that is a soft tip knockdown. Yeah, the original soft tips, them were ultra dent tools. So now you can see we still got a little bit of a low there. We got the bulk of it up, but we got a little bit of a low there. We got a little bit of choppiness going there on the back side of the damage. And that is going to haunt us for a little while throughout this repair. But, man, this is just great training for a 2-week student like Travis. Just incredible training. So we're going to get in there and sniper a little bit. This is a Atlas, I believe, a quarter-size tab. And we're going to get in there and see that's the stubborn part right there at that very back. And it just continues to be stubborn. And part of that is there's metal that's folded in that area. So it's a little bit double paneled, and there's seam sealer and glue, stuff like that back in there, causing us to have to fight it a little bit. Now you can see the technique that we're doing. We're spraying that with, was it 90% alcohol, and then taking it off with that window wedge, the pink window wedge you see me using. You'll see me use that throughout this whole training. So you can see it tightened up a little bit of the back end. I mean, just a little bit, but that is going to fight us. I mean, we're going to have to get in there and put a tool in there, but not going to quite give up on it yet. And some of Travis's placements were a little bit to the top. So one of the things about glue pulling, you almost got to visualize it, and then as it disappears, you lay it, meaning that there's room for error until you get so proficient at it and you've glue pulled so many dents that you will become like a tactical sniper, and you'll be able to hit your spot each and every time. So Travis did a few little pushes there, or a few little pulls there with the robo lifter. He's going to go ahead and spray it down. See, he's not a true dent guy yet because he's only putting a little tiny little bit of alcohol in there. We like to hose that thing down. And by the way, Travis runs a very successful company now, by the way. And so by no means, he's a absolute master at dent removal now. This is back in his learning days. I mean, this might have been 10 or 10 plus years ago. It's been a while. So now you can see Travis, he hit the center of that bad boy. He hit the center of it this time. So make sure you clean off all the little glue specks. We had to do that before I went back to this shot. Just because if you tap it down with the little glue specks, it's just going to get on the end of your knockdown, and then everywhere you knock is going to have these little annoying glue spot scuff things that will just annoy you while you're doing your repair work. So you can see Travis, he's way up high looking down at it because that's the way you got to look at any kind of crease. Now you can see that dramatically shallowed up that particular area. And you see that's the direction. So Travis has to look straight down at that. And you're going to see here that as we're looking down at this direction, we're fixing things at this direction. But your head has to be almost like, all the way around the clock from, let's say that area back there is like 10 o'clock. Your head's going to have to go down to clear on the other side of the clock and go down to 5 o'clock. Going to have to go to 6 o'clock, looking straight up at it. Going to have to go to 12 o'clock, looking straight down at it. All right, so again, we're still glue pulling. We haven't even put a tool in on this. What I love about glue is that it just pulls metal so clean. And where you got to watch, and one of the things that was getting Travis, and it gets us all, is that when you're doing the knockdown work, you're kind of breaking up your little high into tiny little dents or tiny little divots. And that's where you see a lot of these little dots coming in. Now, at one point, the dots are so tiny that you really can't get in there and glue pull every individual little dot. Essentially, they're tiny little dents. You've got to go in there with a sharper tip tool and kind of work them out. So here's Travis having a hard time. This is how strong this glue is in this particular temperature. I mean, it is absolutely on there. And so now he's using the pink window wedge. There's been times where I've had glue stuck on there, guys, where I've had to go get my heat gun out and just lay my heat gun on it for a little while, heating it up, or take a torch and torch it up until it gets gooey enough to where you can pull it off. And it's kind of dangerous what he did there. I probably told him to do that. Took a couple more slide shots on it because, you could actually make the dent a little bit too high, which is going to give you a little too much work. But it looks like the way this one came out was just right. Just right. Let me see if I can get my camera up there on it so you can take a look at it. There you go. Right there at the top. That actually is really nice. And he's going to be pushing his light back a little bit, getting it a little tighter to the car so he can get that tight reflective angle. And he'll be doing a little bit of knockdown work on that. So notice he got it tighter to the car, kind of turned it in, got it closer to the panel. That gives us a tight reflective angle that he can really see that high. I mean, you notice how high you can see it right now. I mean, just it's like a real nice pinch up there. I mean, it looks like a tiny little mountain. And it's hard for me to show you guys some of this because Travis's head, see it right there? He's actually working out a crown back behind the high spot. And now you can see he tapped it out and it went a tiny bit low. But, that's going to be something very easy, very quick work to go in and get with a tool. We're fully aware when you do a dent this big, and a lot of times we're at this point in the tutorial and you forget how big it was. Oh, let me jump on this real quick. Look at him. He is tapping up the bottom. So you can see how the bottom lip, and we were showing this at the very beginning, is just bent completely out. And part of that was that big pull also bowed it out a little bit more. So we're taking that Craftsman hammer and we're just dollying that straight back up. Now I want to show you guys the difference. Okay, so there is a little bit of a low there, but look at the difference in that low. Look at the way when we dollied that up, it moved the metal, the actual dent up and out. Now this is one of them areas where a fender edge is sometimes very hard to maintain and keep stable. Very hard to maintain and keep stable. So this is one of the reasons why we're glue pulling again, is because when we put that Keko, I would never do a slide hammer down here, by the way, guys. A slide hammer down here would just cause that thing to re-bend. So what we're doing is we're going to be using the Keko to get in there and isolate that with the feet holding the edges down while it pulls up. So that's the thing that happens, is that once you get an area that is bent down, like the bottom of that wheel well was when we were tapping it up, it will continue to do that throughout the repair. It's one of them things that you've got to fight, and you got to kind of worry about it cracking underneath the wheel well, the paint cracking, just because each and every time you pull it or each and every time you push on it, it's going to cause that area to bow over and over and over again. So you can see that he didn't put a lot of pressure on it because he did not want that to happen. He did not want that to continuously emerge, even though we are going to be fighting this area too throughout finishing the actual repair. So you can see, let's take a look. Real nice and solid pull there. There's going to be a low down there at that bottom edge though, guys. There's going to be a low left there, and the only way that we're going to end up getting that out is going to be by picking it clean. And I'm going to show you a tool and a technique that will help you when you get stuck in this situation. Because, just a heads up, if you guys have not liked and subscribed to this YouTube channel, do it. I'm dropping tutorials all the time. These are full tutorials that I'm putting on here, y'all. And I'm just looking at what I can do to help you guys out there. Because I know not everybody can afford to come to our training, but I want all you guys to have, some access to just being able to understand what it is you're doing. I remember how hard PDR was for me to learn, and I know how hard it is for a lot of you guys out there, especially if you've received not so good training, unfortunately. So you can see here what we're doing. We've got a double bend going, and he is just slowly picking that. And this is a sharp tip because I don't want that fender to blow out again on the bottom. And this is a PDR finesse. This is a fender lip tool. So the tool actually comes back down. I really wish I would have got a shot of the tool, guys. Apologize. But you can see the majority of it. Imagine a hook hooking down into that fender. That's what that's doing right now. And you can see Travis has got his entire hand up there. And one of the reasons why he's doing that is to pinpoint accuracy, just hit that edge, to hit it with just pinpoint accuracy. So there he is, tapping it down, blending it out. And when I say blend out, what I'm saying is there's definitely a high there. And he is just laying that down back into that surrounding perimeter of the panel, making it, just trying to make it look like natural orange peel. Each and every time we go through a pushing round and a tapping round, it gets tighter, it gets better. The little dots become closer to the appearance of what orange peel looks like on a car. And if you're really new to this and you don't know the body the body man terminology slang orange peel, just look at the peel of an orange and look at the reflection of a car. You've got a similar pattern there. That's why a lot of guys will wet sand on things, and we do too. I mean, sometimes you just have to. I believe that we're gonna. I can't remember if we do wet sanding and polishing on this or not. I know that this training was done 10 years ago, but I'm doing a brand new commentary on it right now. And many of you guys have seen, I've literally kind of just relaunched the YouTube channel. Already got a ton of subscribers, and we're going to keep gaining subscribers and things like that because of the type of tutorials and trainings that we're going to be giving here for free. Y'all got to love it. Now, you can see Travis way up there towards the top, just hitting where we were glue pulling earlier. And again, you kind of see the little, but here's what you guys see. You guys see little lows, but you don't see aggressive little pinches everywhere. You don't see a lot of aggression in that area. Why? Because we glue pulled a ton of the metal and brought a lot of it up just real nice and clean. The little dots that you're seeing there are just coming from the knockdown work. And the thing that you're witnessing here is that the tip of that metal tool is just going to go into each and every one and push it up individually like a bunch of tiny little dents. You're going in and playing like this aggressive game of connect the dots. And the fun part about paintless dent removal is it literally eventually becomes almost like a game. In fact, you can see the double bend that he's thrown up in there. But in fact, there's many times that I'll fix an entire hail damage car or do a large smash, and I'll put in some headsets and I'll just listen to, I'm a big fan of audiobooks, success material, fun stuff like that. And I'll listen to a book while I'm doing it, and I'll really retain a lot of the knowledge, but it's simply because it's just came second nature to me, and it will to you at a certain point. So if you're struggling, just keep in mind, I started this back in 2003, guys. And back in 2003, there was not a lot of help out there. So one of the reasons why I started the tactical dent tech movement is because I remembered how much I struggled, and it took me 3 years just to not even become close to what you see Travis doing here. So, when I want to say that somebody struggled, I struggled. And I truly believe that was God's gift to me to let me know that other people were going to struggle, and that I should make products and services that could help my old me, right? And that's still the way that I look at it today. I always sit back and think, well, I remember back when, this happened or when that happened, what can I do to make sure that never happens to anybody that works with me, anybody that is watching my YouTube channel, any of my students that I train, anybody that I can come close to, I want to be able to teach and pour into them. So you can see here, Travis now is just picking all the little lows. And look how he's coming in from the top now. So we were going in from the bottom for a long time, and now he's just sweeping down in there from the top. And we're going in from the top of the fender. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's openings up there at the very top. And he's just taking his tool down inside of there and pinpointing the dent from a completely different angle. And now he's looking at it from that angle. And you're going to notice this throughout the entire repair, whether we're glue pulling or whether we're pushing. We're going to be looking at this damage from all different types of angles, all the way around it, 360 degrees. And we're going to be picking this thing down to its last little dot. And when you get this thing really, really close inside of this light, once you take the light off of it, it's going to look incredible. And I mean really, really close from every angle. You got to take the light around the whole thing and look at it from every angle. But you can see what he's kind of fighting there is that last crease. That last crease. And if you actually look at the very back edge of this, you can kind of see it in the dark area behind where Travis is pushing. There's a little bow. There's a little, almost like a wave on the back, the very back of the panel. And the reason why that's been fighting us, well, number one, I should have just taken the door off. But the other reason why, hey, it's training, man. Let's make it a little bit harder. This right here turned, if we would have done all the easy stuff, then Travis would have, Maybe he would have just been like I don't know, like a soldier instead of a Navy SEAL. So he had to become like a Navy SEAL to learn how to do one of these in this particular condition, with your head only coming in from that one angle with doing pushing. So you can see here that he's just trying to hit it. And at this point, Travis is fatigued. I mean, you get to a certain point where I believe this was a full day. This is a full day worth of damage. And so I think something like this probably took him 6-7 hours. I mean, the good news is that nowadays with part prices and, there's such a demand for paintless dent removal that you can actually get, $1,500, sometimes even $2,000 out of a repair like this, because the body shops just want a fortune now, and sometimes parts are not even in supply. So you can see here how he's just got some little tiny little dots, but there's also that little wave on the back of the panel. So you can go through and kind of see it. See the dip right there? Just a dip right there in that back edge right there. Driving us crazy. And it's also what's kind of holding the rest of the dent hostage, because all of it's just going down. So what do? We put a black plague, giant canoe boat style black plague tab. These are still my favorite by far. I don't know if you guys know Keith Cosentino. If you don't, look them up. Go out there, Black Plague PDR. They also got PDR College podcast, doing all kinds of fun stuff over there. But these are some of his original Black Plague. I forget the name, but they to me they look like canoe boats. But these things will freaking pull some metal. And the reason why we're using that Keko mini lifter here is because I do not want to risk taking the whole edge of this panel and bowing it out. Because if you take that tab that he glued right there on the edge of that panel and you smash it a few times with the slide hammer and you hit it anywhere near powerfully, you will just bend. You'll kink. This whole dent will be over. It will kink, it will bend it, and it will potentially crack the very edge of the panel. So at this point, we got to touch everything with like kitten gloves, we've got it this far. We do not want to risk taking it back into the wrong direction, guys. Now this is really, really, really where we get down into the nitty gritty here. And this is Travis just laying that bad boy down. I mean, we pushed it up, laying it down. And I believe what we came to realize is there was a lot of tension in that crease line that Travis was working before we went into this glue pull. And that tension, it just wasn't going anywhere. It was what I like to call the trampoline effect. You'd push it up and it would just bounce back down. You'd push it up and it would just bounce back down. And so here he is just trying to clean up, trying to get that area just right. Sometimes there was another glue pull there. And sometimes we'll actually walk around the other side of the car because, guys, don't think that some of a low and an edge, it can't be natural because there is panel stamping, stuff like that. So our goal is not to reshape this panel to our own desire. So there's a lot of times I'll walk around to the other side of the car, look at the fender, look it up and down, making sure that we are going on the right direction. And also making sure that we're not doing any unnecessary work, because if there's a little bow in there, if there's a little bit of a dip anywhere that's naturally printed in from the factory, number one, you're going to have a heck of a hard time getting it. And then number two, you are going to just be doing some unnecessary work. So now Travis is looking up at the damage. So before we were looking down, but look at them. Now he's looking up at the damage. That light is up above. I am big about this. This is called cross-checking. Cross-checking is much harder on side panels, just simply because there's only so many angles, there's only so many access points, and it's much easier on top panels, especially like a hood that you can take off of the actual car. It makes cross-checking easy work. You guys probably seen the training tutorial with Kevin, one of my students who did the door that I kicked in. That as well is an example of one that we took the door off and it made it much easier to cross-check. So guys, Travis is going to finish picking this thing clean, but let me remind you with what we started with. And you can see there, that was about as good as we could get it. And Travis got that thing to 98%, but look at what we started with. This is just a reminder. I feel like you forget whenever you're going through these tutorials. and you're listening to me try to whisper sweet things into your ears, you just forget. So there you go. And you see how big and nasty it was. That whole bottom was bowed out. Such a nasty edge dent. And you can kind of see that whole back. You see that crease cutting in there from that back edge, body line missing. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to jump in here and show you the aftermath, the after of what Travis accomplished. So give Travis a big hand. He did this. I mean, yes, I was over his shoulder, but yes, he's the one that did this. But I just want to really highlight that edge. There's a little bit of glue smudge on there we needed to wipe out. But take a look at this going through it. I mean, y'all, if you can get it this good in the light, and I'm not saying it's perfect again, but it's doggone good. If you can get it this good in the light, when you look at it in the natural, I'm here to tell you guys the client walked in, and I mean, it's better than an actual traditional body repair. There's no way that even a traditional body repair where they're painting the whole side of your car, or at least going into the door and possibly into the hood, that there's not going to be inconsistencies in the paint. And this is so close that Travis just did an incredible job, y'all. Just for 2 weeks worth of training, and you got to give it to that man. He crushed it. And anyhow, y'all, I appreciate you guys for coming along on Travis's 2-week training tutorial. And as usual, I'm going to see you on the next one.